Welcome to the Mock Box. My name is SMC, and we're going to talk today about the divisional round that we just saw in the NFL. Four great games. We now have our conference championships on both sides of the ball. Let's start with the AFC. First of all, did anybody really expect a different outcome than the one we got? I mean, no offense to the Texans and to Texans fans, and I'll give you credit. You gave it a hell of a run. Up until the last quarter and a half, the Texans were killing it. They were keeping the Patriots frustrated. They were keeping the defense. That line was bursting. Between Clowney and Vilfork and JJ, they were really pounding away at the Patriots. And yet it just didn't seem to materialize. And I'm really not surprised. And I think it's just that the Patriots are in a different league as far as completed systems and complete quarterback and coach connections. This Patriots team knows what it's doing. It has the playoff experience that the Texans are starting to grow into. And I think that if the Texans make the right adjustments, we'll see a lot of that. We'll see a lot of good stuff come out of them. But really, it was a mismatch. It really was a mismatch. Props to the Texans for at least winning the playoff game against the Raiders, who really needed Derek Carr more than I think I gave them credit for. I thought that the defense was going to be a little more secure on that Raiders team. Not to discount the Raiders at all, because I think that with a healthy Derek Carr, they've got a lot of good places to go with their team, and I think we're going to see them as a welcome addition to the AFC playoff picture in the coming years. But as it stands, there really wasn't a doubt in my mind that New England was going to win that game. So New England moves on to their sixth conference championship. And we're going to just kind of skirt right along to that one because I think that one probably requires the least amount of discussion. I think the big one that needs discussion on the AFC side is definitely Pittsburgh, Kansas City. There were a lot of good things that came out of Pittsburgh. I think Boswell has certainly earned his money for being the lone scorer the entire game with 6 field goals, some of them from a pretty significant distance, some of them chip shots. But for the fact that Pittsburgh is moving on to the conference championship really on the shoulders of the kicker, really says a lot about this team. The defense really made some good adjustments to prevent any more significant gameplay from the Chiefs, from Alex Smith. Really kept Andy Reid having to guess what the defense was going to do and adjust his playing accordingly. And we saw Travis Kelce have issues with the referees, which everybody who's on a losing team. Okay. Everybody who is on a losing team of a football game, every single one, I don't care who you are, every fan, every player, every coach is going to have an issue with the referees because the game did not go their way. That's how it works. So, I understand the frustration, but at the end of the day, you got to just suck it up. Look forward and look ahead to next season, which they have no choice but to do now. But all the credit in the world to this Kansas City team that really prevented an offense that really can explode, that really can light up, similarly to the Packers. Big Ben can go off on any given day with Antonio Brown and the rest of his entourage, and with Le'Veon Bell and all of that, and the defense held him to only field goals, and you saw that frustration on Big Ben's eyes. You saw that he was frustrated. He couldn't get one of those touchdowns in. But that notwithstanding, Pittsburgh does move on, and they play the New England Patriots this weekend. And this is a time-tested rivalry. Over the last year, these two have fought each other in the conference championship or in the divisional round probably 8 or 9 times. I don't know the actual numbers, but this Steelers team has the opportunities to do things very, very well. And one of the things I give Mike Tomlin and especially their defensive coordinator for is being able to adjust their defensive strategy to each team and adapt well, especially after that 4-game losing streak. The games that they won past that really were on the shoulders of the defense more so than they were on the offensive side of the ball. And I think that's what's going to end up winning the game against the Patriots for the Steelers is that defensive adjustment that the Patriots don't always get. I mean, yeah, they have a great regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, especially when those conference championships, the Patriots have a really difficult time making defensive adjustments to cater to whatever team they're playing. It's happened with the Broncos, it's happened with the Steelers, it's happened with the Ravens. The Achilles heel of the New England Patriots is conference championship defense. Their offense never has a problem. Tom Brady can go off and throw to Edelman or Amendola or Gronkowski or Lewis or Dion Lewis or LeGarrette Blount or whoever he's got. He could throw to them and they'll catch it and they'll score every game. That's not an issue. The issue is on the defensive side of the ball, they end up going touchdown for touchdown, and that ends up hurting the Patriots in the long run, and I think it's going to hurt them this time. I think that if the Steelers can make those defensive adjustments, Big Ben's got something to prove. He didn't get a touchdown. You saw that bothered him. You know he's going to want to do it against the team that he knows he has fun playing against. I think we see the Steelers get the nod, get the quote-unquote upset, if you really have to call it that. And we see the Steelers make the Super Bowl. So then we move on to the NFC, where we have Atlanta, Seattle. And this one really puzzled me because I really expected the Falcons to not be as complete a team as they are. I really expected the Falcons to kind of choke like they do normally. I know that's stereotypical and everyone doubts and people will call me a hater. I'm also a Bucs fan, so it does make me a little biased. But notwithstanding, this team really made a statement against Seattle. Julio Jones is having a career-defining season, as is Matt Ryan, as is Devontae Freeman, as is this Falcons defense, which may not be perfect. You know, it's not the best defense currently playing in the playoffs between the final four teams. I will have to say that. But they do okay. You know, they do all right. They move around pretty well. They have a lot of good hustle. And I think that this Falcons team really has an opportunity here. And I think they've already done that. They've already had the opportunity and shown that they can be very significant playoff contenders. Especially with a win over a former Super Bowl champion. And for this, on the Seahawks part, I said last year, back in 2015, so I guess it's 2 years ago now, that the biggest thing that was going to make the Seahawks implode was the Seattle Seahawks. And I think that after the post game with Bennett really summarized exactly what my suspicions were. Saying, oh, don't tell me how to fucking do my job, motherfucker. Yeah, exactly. And it's that kind of arrogance and issues that have really, I think, torn the Seahawks apart. You don't see that unity like you did in the Super Bowl season or in the season against the New England Patriots. You don't see it. You see that schism starting to form between the players within themselves and Pete Carroll. And if there's anybody who's going to rally that team together, it will be Pete Carroll. But there's definitely a lot of offseason moves they have to make in order for this team to reemerge as a solitary unit. So congratulations to the Falcons for moving on to their first NFC Championship game since beating Seattle for that right 4 years ago. And then we have the game of the playoffs so far. I'll be honest. I expected Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott to have rookie playoff performances, meaning they'd bomb it, they'd get weak in the knees under pressure, and that was going to be the end of that. Ended up not being the case. I mean, it was in the first half. Green Bay had momentum. They were firing on all cylinders. Aaron Rodgers was having a great day. And then everything kind of teetered back to the Cowboys a little bit. So all the credit in the world to this Cowboys team with two rookies that two of the most important positions on the offensive scheme for really making that. Dez Bryant had a great day, but I really think the MVP of that game should go to the rookie Allison, the wide receiver for Green Bay, who had tremendous numbers. He got the nod for passes time and time again, and he made some ridiculous catches. And how about that catch at the end of the game that led to the final field goal from Mason Crosby? And props to Jason Garrett for calling that timeout when he did to really throw Crosby. It didn't work entirely, but you saw that it shook him up on the second kick because it was just barely in as opposed to the sure shot that he got the time before. And so that leads to a Falcons-Packers game And by the way, side note, the future is bright for this Cowboys team. There really should be nothing to be ashamed about. Bringing the Packers to the limit like that with the squad you have. Now, of course, the next move is where should Romo go? We'll talk about that in another mock box. So now we have the Falcons and the Packers, which is, I think, an NFC Championship game nobody thought was going to happen. But here we are, and purely for the defensive stance, I have to give this to the Green Bay Packers. I like Julio Jones and Devontae and Matty Ice, but for playoff experience alone, Aaron Rodgers knows how to get into a rhythm. And he also didn't feel like he had a great day. So he obviously has something to prove too, much like Big Ben. And I think having that inspiration behind the quarterback is going to make such a difference with this team, and especially in a game where the stakes are as high as the ticket to the Super Bowl. And I don't think this game is going to be decided by much more than 10 points, maybe even fewer. I think it's going to be a great game. But I'm going to give this to the Packers. So I think that we're going to have a Steelers-Packers Super Bowl. And who's going to win that game? We're going to talk about on a different episode of the Mock Box. That is all for this round. My name's SMC, and we'll catch you later.